Welcome to the Bloody Aussie Battler podcast with your host, Mike Holt. Well, welcome back, and Dick and I are now floating out in space because we're about to talk about the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act preamble. Now, we mentioned preamble before, Dick, but exactly what does the preamble say and how does it affect us?
Well, for start off, it puts us at the top, whereas the people, we're in charge, not the bloody political parties. They've changed the system where they dictate to us. But no, we're supposed to dictate to them. And it's whereas the people. So we're in charge of our Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act. And that's a big reason why these political parties don't recognise it. It's in their Commonwealth, what they call the Constitution or Australian Constitution. It's all there, but they don't recognise it. It's the same with the preamble, and as I said before, all the clauses and the schedule. All they recognise is the Constitution, and only when they want it.
Good Lord, these political parties are kind of like the driver who gets out on the road and doesn't recognise traffic signals and road signs and just drives like a damn maniac and does whatever he wants.
Well, that's what they're doing today because we don't pull them up.
Yeah, we need some Commonwealth of Australia police, and that's what we're doing now.
Well, yeah, well, when they made the Australian Federal Police, that was the first thing they took out was the Commonwealth Police.
Yeah. Can you read out the preamble in full so that we understand what it says?
No.
I'll actually put it in here.
Whereas the people of New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Queensland and Tasmania, and you can put Western Australia in there as well because they were there, humbly relying on the blessings of Almighty God, they took that out, have agreed to unite in one indissoluble federal commonwealth under the crown of the United Kingdom, Great Britain and Ireland, and under the Constitution hereby established. Now that just tells you that the Constitution hereby established is our primary law. Now, how can you be a solicitor, a barrister, a QC, and a professor at law and you don't know the primary law of the country? That makes you lot bloody idiots. Yes. And whereas it is expedient to provide for the administration into the Commonwealth and other Australasian colonies and possessions of the Queen. Then it goes to the enacting manner and form, which gives it Crown authority, be it therefore enacted by the Queen's most excellent Majesty by and with the advice and consents of the Lords Spiritual and Temporal and Commons, and this present Parliament assembled and by the authority of the same as follows. So this is what the political parties don't want to know about, because that gives us all the authority. That enacting manner and form of be it therefore enacted by the Queen's most excellent Majesty pushes common law into our system. And also the seal at the top of the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, the original, not the crap they give you today, but the original has the Royal Coat of Arms on it, which is a crown, common law crown authority.
That's the one with the lion and the unicorn.
Yes.
Not the emu and the kangaroo.
The emu and the kangaroo is a royal warrant, but what they've done is with Victoria and Queensland removing the imperial crowns from their public functionary seals has allowed the Commonwealth, political parties Commonwealth, being able to trademark the emu and the kangaroo into a system that looks like ours, but it's not. It's just fraudulent, another fraudulent episode of treason.
So they've copyrighted that in the USA?
Yes, they trademarked it into USA, yes. And in their trademark system, they don't tell you what the shield combines with. If you go into the royal warrant of the Australian, what they call it, Australian seal anyway, they tell you what each part of the shield stands for.
Right, I remember that. Now, okay, so let's talk about the common man who gets a fine from the police and decides to go and fight it in court. What chance has he got under their system?
Bugger all.
Yeah.
In the letters patent of 1900, the Queen, part of the Queen authorises the Governor-General, Commander-in-Chief to do is to appoint the Judiciary. He appoints the Judiciary, and that keeps our separation of powers. Now that the political parties own the Governor-General and Commander-in-Chief, they appoint whoever they want, or who is the lackey that they need for the day, to do whatever they want. Like they've just appointed another 2 treasonous buggers into their High Court of Australia. Now, this is something that's really turned the Constitution around, right? In Section 71 of the Constitution, it talks about the High Court of Australia. But since they changed the definitions, that High Court of Australia is their High Court. They've changed our constitutional definitions. They haven't changed the words. They've just changed the definition. Okay. This is just a dirty, stinking way of crucifying the system.
All right, here's a hypothetical. A Supreme Court of a state issues a gag order on somebody. How lawful is it?
Nothing.
And what can we do to stop it?
They've got no more. Like the High Court, if you go to the High Court Bulletin, it tells you all the cases, and you read the judges, quorum, so many judges. A quorum sits in the presence, you and me can sit there, we have as much authority as what they have. But you've got the problem where they created the federal police, they've created the state police, all under their system. They've taken the state police and changed their oath. In Queensland, they've changed their oath and put them under their system.
Do we have a copy of that oath?
We've got a copy of that oath.
And the original oath?
And the original.
I'd like to see that.
Yep, that's not a problem. We've got all that. And yeah, so this is how they've screwed people, and a lot of people don't understand what's going on. They changed the system of sovereign, the lawful sovereign of Australia, but it's their Australia. So therefore, their lawful sovereign of Australia is the Queen of Australia, which is writing on a piece of paper. And you go into the Constitution, Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, and everywhere where the word Queen is, it's their Queen. There's no authority whatsoever. That's why they don't have to worry about when they want to use it. Like a few years ago or last year sometime, they knocked out a heap of people out of the House of Representatives and the Senate for not being an Australian citizen. Most of those people were British or under the Commonwealth nations, so they were quite entitled to be in Parliament, but under their system, they weren't. And you remember the High Court judgment of Sue versus Hill. Heather Hill was a British subject.
Yeah.
She had total right, but it is their Parliament, not ours. That's the difference.
Now, if you read section 44, it specifically states there, any member of the Commonwealth. It doesn't say the Commonwealth of their Australia. It says any member of the Commonwealth may sit in our Parliament.
But remember today, right, they changed the constitutional definitions. That Commonwealth there is their damn Commonwealth.
Right.
So that's where it changes again. If you go into the Constitution, just get it, read it. Everywhere it says Commonwealth, everywhere it says Australia, everywhere it says Commonwealth of Australia, everywhere it says Queen, it all belongs to them.
Yeah, but that's their constitution you're talking about.
That's the constitution under the Australia Act.
Right, but the original Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1901 is our constitution, and that's the one we have to act under. That's
right, and that's the one that has all the right definitions.
Right.
See, they went into the Action Interpretation Act in 1973, and that's where they changed the constitutional definitions. And this annoys me because they were sitting in our Parliament doing it. They changed the constitutional definitions without a referendum. Then they created a Parliament of Australia. I'll just read you out a few things of what they did.
Okay, before you do though, is that why they moved the Parliament from the old Parliament building to their new one?
Basically, yes. They created their own Parliament, and then they could stack so many more people in it, which 99% of the people in there don't need to be there if you're just running a proper Parliament. But in their system, they need this and they need that. And you try and write a letter to the Prime Minister, so-called, And you've got to get through, I don't know, 100 people before you can get to him.
If you ever do.
If you ever do. But, you know, so they've just loaded it up with people, and the more people that work for the governments will vote for the governments because to keep their jobs.
Right. Okay, would you like to read that out?
Yeah. Now, in the Royal Stars and Titles Act, now the Royal Stars and Titles Act was 3 pages, and that created those 3 pages in the Gazette of that. They created not the Gazette, the schedule of that. They created the Queen of Australia, Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen of Australia, and her other realms and territories, head of the Commonwealth. Now, don't forget, this is done after they changed the Commonwealth of the constitutional definitions, and they created their own Australia Commonwealth, meaning Commonwealth Australia, right? So this, in a system, has removed the defender of the faith, and when they don't recognise the preamble and they took out humbly relying on the blessings of Almighty God, they removed all our gods out, our God out of their system. They might say the Lord's Prayer in Parliament, but it's basically it's under Lucifer. All
right. Now, I'm no lawyer or even a constitutional expert, but it appears to me that if we went into their court and demanded a habeas corpus of their queen, what could they do?
Nothing, because how can a piece of paper write something?
Yeah.
Their queen is just, it's like when they created their private Australia, Commonwealth of Australia, in that system, by removing the preamble, whereas the people, we have removed out of their system as living. Then they created this Australian Citizenship Act, where we swear our oath to the Queen of Australia, which puts us into capital letters, and we're abstract. So to them, we're only writing on a piece of paper as well. So when you go into their court, you're just a pain in the ass to them, because like the judge said, this is my court. I'll do what I want.
And they do.
They know. This is the part that really annoys me. Those people, I don't know how they can sleep at night, because I know when I was in court and Crown Law forever took me to court to shut me up. Now, I had quite a difficulty understanding what was going on at that time, because this was Crown Law, and you think Crown Law is supposed to work under the Commonwealth Australia Constitution Act and the state constitutions, but no, they're just as corrupt as the political parties, and actually they're very corrupt because they are running under a system as if they are Crown Law when they're not.
Are you interested in podcasts that uncover the truth? Tune into Widdershins podcast. Straight from science fiction, we uncover the technologies being developed right under our noses. We bring to you the world's leading scientists, engineers, and experts to discover just how far away these things really are from becoming our reality. www.widdershinspodcast.com.
So the judge turned around when I got a bit cranked up in court and asked him a few questions that he couldn't answer, or he kept talking over the top of me. So I turned around and I yelled it into court what I wanted. The Judge Lyons, Supreme Court, turned around to Crown Law and just said, he can't win in this court, can he? And Crown Law said, no, he can't. So you tell me that those two bastards there didn't know they were sitting corruptly in treason.
Yeah.
And the judge is sitting under the Royal Coat of Arms right up above him.
Treason, absolute treason.
That's total treason. And that's your Supreme Court in Queensland. And I've got stuff out of South Australia and a few other states, and they sit under that seal as if it's just, we're not a republic yet. Otherwise, those seals would be taken out and we would get thrown out. It boils down to the fact that they haven't quite taken us over. So we've got to stand up as fast as we can and get something sorted out with the judiciary and try and get some police on our side, because it's very hard to understand if you swear your oath and it sounds exactly like the right oath, but only they've changed the definitions. It's very hard for those police to say, well, I swore this oath, I'm under the Crown, when they're not.
Actually, this brings up a very interesting point. Two things, actually. First of all, there is a way now for us to get back under our Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, and that is through employing common law. So through the commonlawcourtaus.org website, we are now asking people to convene common law assemblies, and there we can form common law courts, and we can elect sheriffs and the whole thing. But the other thing is that just this week, the New South Wales Police, or some of them, issued, I forget how many, about 90 police, I think,
70.
signed. How many?
70.
70, okay. 70 police signed this letter to the Commissioner of Police saying that the COVID restrictions that they are being forced to enforce are destroying the reputation of the police. They are now worried about it because of this unlawful business that the governments are imposing. So when the police start jacking up, I think we've got ourselves the start of people starting to stand together and realise we don't have to obey these political parties. Now, the thing is, what you've got to realise with the police is they are men and women, members of the Commonwealth of Australia, fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, and they have a life to lead here too. And they've got a job and they want to do that job properly, most of them anyway. But they can't act because they are bound by, they've got to look after their families, they've got a job, they don't want to lose their job. But there comes a time when we all have to stand up for what is right. And I'm glad to see 70 policemen already starting to stand up for what is right, but we need many more. And the thing to do now is, if you are concerned, whether you're a policeman or not, get involved with the common law and start joining assemblies. We have assemblies already in several places, but we need many, many more. And I'm glad to say that some of the patriot groups around Australia now are getting on board. They're starting to form assemblies. So if you haven't got one in your area, start one. It's all explained on the website, and let's do it. If we don't, we're going to lose our country. We've almost lost it already. And as Dick pointed out, in these courts now, they're sitting under the Crown seal, or the Crown, what is it?
Royal Coat of Arms.
Royal Coat of Arms. They haven't had the guts to take it down because they know they are committing treason and they are wrong. But that won't protect them. Once the people rise up, as we are starting to, it's game over for them. And they'll be lucky to get away with it. With their lives. We don't want to kill them. We don't want to hang them, although that's what the penalty for death is. Well, I know a lot of people do, but the whole point of common law is to do no harm to others. What we want to do is to hold them accountable for their crimes and treason. And if their law states that treason is punishable by death, then that's what we have to do. That's what the law tells us to do. And that law has not been repealed. The political parties tried to change it, but that law has not been repealed under our Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, has it?
No. And as far as the police go, I understand them to a certain extent, because they have to pay their house off, they have to pay all their stuff off, the same as everybody else. So in a sense, you're no different to what we are in this system. You're being screwed and you're helping the political party's treason, and you're enforcing their treason. So please just think for yourselves a bit. What you've got to realize also is you live next door to us. If you can help us and we can help you, it's going to be a lot better than if this boils over and you live next door to us, you don't have a dozen police to back you up.
If you're enjoying the Bloody Aussie Battler podcast, please consider donating to help keep us going. You can donate just once or make it a monthly donation. Any amount is welcome. To donate, go to our website at www.thebloodyausiebattler.com and click on Donate. Yes, actually, I was talking to someone there today about the mass arrests in Victoria there yesterday, or the weekend. Sunday, yeah. And apparently they arrested 400 people who were protesting by a whole bunch of police encircling them and arresting them. But as I said, well, what about if we had 600 sheriffs encircle the police, and then the people on the inside, the people who are protesting, turn outwards. The police are going to be in the middle, and that's what can happen. So we're inviting the police to come and join our assemblies. We want you there because you already know the law. The problem is you're working for the wrong people. Come and work for we, the people of the Commonwealth of Australia.
If you have chosen the Red Pill, then there is only one place to host your website. Enlightened hosting, no censorship. Domains, hosting, secure. Build your website and get online fast. www.redpillhosting.com.
Dick, you have got a document here. What did you want to read out here? How they created the parliament?
Yeah, this is how they created their whole parliament system and put it under their definitions. Now, the Royal Styles and Titles Act is 3 pages, and I could never get the proclamation for the Royal Styles and Titles Act because I had to find out what else was there. I was, at that time, I was in Catter's office and I could walk in and out and they knew who I was. They would get whatever I wanted. So I asked them if they could have somebody in Canberra go into the parliamentary library and get that proclamation for me.
Did you get it?
Yes. The proclamation and Gazette is 5 pages. And in those 5 pages is where they created, I'll just read you out a few things. Our sign manual, Great Seal of Australia, Parliament of Australia, our Royal Proclamation, our Parliament, our Australian Parliament, Governor General of Australia, Royal Great Seal, Government of Australia, Queen of Australia. And see, they always sign off as Elizabeth R or start off with Elizabeth R. But Elizabeth R, the R in Latin stands for Regina, meaning Queen. So because they made their Queen of Australia Elizabeth II, they can write that out as Elizabeth R and get away with it. This is just using another language to get what they wanted through. This is, how would you put it? These bastards know what they're doing. There's no 2 ways about it. When you got this puts them under mens reas, which is worse than just doing something wrong because you're doing it wrong knowingly. So that makes it damn side worse. And this is the bloody political parties. This is how they've done it.
Okay, so that proclamation that you got, can you explain that in more detail? I mean, you've just read out there what is included, but what does it mean?
It's basically, it's, how would you put it? It is how the Commonwealth of Australia, political parties, have treated us from that day forward. They've created their own private parliament, which is not ours, because when you look at it, everything, most of it's under the word Australia or Commonwealth, which is their definitions, which is not in our Commonwealth Australia Constitution Act. Now, this is all outside our Commonwealth Australia Constitution Act. It is just a private company created their own parliament or their own board of directors and their lackeys from there on. Like the Governor General of Australia, he's just a lackey. And the Queen of Australia, well, that's just writing on a piece of paper. All this is, basically, the whole thing is abstract. Because when you create an Australia, a Commonwealth, and meaning a Commonwealth of Australia, you can't just create a country. What they've did is just created, everything's on abstract, created on a piece of paper. And what we've got to do is just scribble up that piece of paper, anyhow we can, and get rid of it, and then we're back to our Commonwealth Australia Constitution Act and sort out all the laws that are not void, are void.
So basically,
everything.
What they've done really is they have stolen the Australian country from the Crown.
Oh, it's all treason, absolutely. But they think they've done it outside the system, even though they turn around in that Constitution, they write it up as being all there, but they don't recognise it. When you've taken the Queen out and that sort of thing, and the Governor General, you own both of them, or you've taken them out and created them as pieces of paper, where's your authority? You got no authority whatsoever.
Okay.
And that's the same with the federal police, the state police, the every political party's COAG, all that system is finished. And in 1992, all these Australian governments, COAG, signed a document saying not to touch private land. I've got the document with the signatures where they all agree to it, and you go to Schedule 2, Section 5, they agree not to touch private land. 13 days after they signed that, the Queensland government, which is not the government of Queensland, you've got to learn a bit of English in this, took ownership of all land in Queensland.
All right, so the Queensland government is the corporation produced by the political parties.
Yes.
The government of Queensland is our Commonwealth of Australia constitutional government.
Yes.
Right.
It's our government under the 1867 Constitution for Queensland.
Okay, so what happened there was that each state before Federation in 1901 had its own constitution, but they were not actually states, they were British colonies. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And each British colony, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, Western Australia, had its own constitution under the Crown.
Yes.
And so in 1901, they all agreed to become subordinate to the federal constitution, which would then give them certain powers, but if those powers interfered with the powers conferred by the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1901, they were subordinate to the Commonwealth.
Yes.
Right.
And any power that went above was void to that point of coming back under.
Right. So in effect, what happened in 1901, the states were formed from the former colonies. So they united 6 British colonies into one federal colony. Basically, we are still a British colony.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we're just under one roof.
Yeah. But we've got 6 different governments that are supposed to be subordinate to the federal constitution. And they have now just ignored all of that, and they've gone back to their state constitutions. They're even changing those unlawfully, right?
Oh, definitely. It is astronomically how in 1999 we had a referendum to say as a constitutional monarchy. In 2002 they invented their own constitution, 2001 constitution. Actually, it was interesting because it started off as being the 2001 Constitution Act, but then they took the word act out. And if you go back into where it was proclaimed, they got Peter Arnes's signature, which is not his usual signature. He must have, I don't know what happened, but when you go back and find his other signature, there's 2 different signatures in that system. And then all of a sudden, when it came through and they appointed it on the 6th of June 2002, it was not an act. It was just the 2001 Constitution. Oh. Now, if it's not an act and it's a constitution, it's not worth 2 bob. And to become an act, you have to get the Governor General, the Governor to sign off on it. And there's something went wrong there somehow or another, because there's 2 different signatures in that system. I put them into court, and old Justice Jones just, boo, I'm not a proper person to decide signatures. And it's that blatant, it's not funny.
It's fraud.
It's
pure and simple.
Total. When you're dealing with a governor, supposed to be a proper governor, it's treason.
All right. So basically, what happened was they took the Governor General out of the Constitution in the federal sphere, and then they took all the state governors out, and those state governors are now dictated to by the state premiers.
This is something I found hard to start off with. I was helping people on farms up around Tully, Irish, and all through there. And Bob Catter used to come to my meetings occasionally. And one of the meetings he got up and said that the Premier can sack the Governor if the Governor doesn't do as he's told. And I thought, hang on. The Governor sits in and over the state. But in the Australia Act, they took the Governor out and left him as the Governor and Council, which is, he had to abide by the executive government.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
And there was no referendum, no nothing. And then when we voted the Australia Act and all the republic systems out in 1999, they just said, get stuffed. You're a republic now and you're going to bloody well stay there.
All right, I want to continue this discussion in our next talk, mate, because I want to talk about the relationship of the Australia Act to the way that the state parliaments ignored 2 referendums where we said we do not want a third tier of government called the local government, and how they did that and what we can do about it. So we'll come back to that soon, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, mate. Thank you.
On the road to Mississippi, I met a man, scratched out a living playing some blues, haunted the swamps and bayous, whittled beach into Jesus statues. But from where I stood, I could see he was just another pilgrim killing time, waiting for redemption. He didn't know it was a crime to stop on the road to Mississippi, where dreams are buried and forgotten, and nothing you're ever taught in school applies, where you learn to live with lies. Now God's in his attic looking for a sense of humor. I'm fighting the static, hoping it's just a rumor. On the road to Mississippi, my heart stopped, my head hurt, my feet got cold, my nerves were torn. On the road where I could have sworn I saw the ghosts of Johnson, Buckley, Bessie, Mark Twain and brave Medgar Evers, Aaron Presley. And I started praying. On that road, I met a girl, sweet young thing. On the road to Mississippi,